EM brings her 4 kids to an adult-only wedding. I attended an adult-only wedding for a coworker a few days ago. The actual ceremony was in a very small church, so it was mostly family and close friends, but the reception was for roughly 250 people. The reception was at a very elegant hotel ballroom. Not child-friendly in any way. Crystal stemware, expensive linens on the table, etc. About half an hour into the reception, a commotion started that made everyone stare. EM is arguing with the wedding planner loudly. Me, being the nosy broad that I am, inched closer to hear. Turns out EM brought her 4 young children to the reception, even though the invitations clearly stated adults only. The EM insisted that her kids, I'm guessing at ages, but the oldest one looked 8-ish and the youngest was under a year old, were super well behaved, so it was fine. Now, keep in mind, this was around 7:30 p.m. WP was having none of it. She insisted that children were not allowed and she had to leave. In a last-ditch effort to get admitted, EM shouted at the bride. The bride went over and listened to her for a moment and then said in a syrupy sweet voice, "Of course you can come in, EM, but your children cannot." She turned on her heel and went back to her new husband. EM flipped a nut, yelling about how she was invited, couldn't find a babysitter, etc. 3 of the groomsmen escorted her and her kids to the door. I'm sorry, if an invitation says don't bring your kids, don't bring your friggin' kids. I don't care if you can't find a babysitter or whatnot, then you don't get to go. That's part of the responsibility of being a parent, not dragging your kids to a party that they're not invited for. And I don't care how well behaved you say there are. If their ages are 10 or below, and there's, 3 or 4 of them? No, they're not going to be well behaved enough for that. I'm sorry. Parents, I can't imagine how tough it is having to find people to watch your kids and stuff. I have a hard enough time finding people to watch my dogs when I want to go out sometimes. But your kids are your responsibility. That's on you. And you do not get to bypass rules on a day that big. Weddings are very important to some people. And you have to respect that if they're your friend and everything. You have to respect that if they say no kids, it means no kids. So I'm sorry, but you're kind of being a bit of an a-hole doing that. You don't get to make that decision for them. See you at the next wedding. My sister is infertile, and I'm glad. Oh. I, a 28-year-old female, have an older sister, Angela, 30-year-old female, who I have never liked. She always had to compete with me, but never in a normal sibling rivalry way. Our entire life, she always seemed resentful of my existence, as the spotlight couldn't perpetually shine on her, so she had to step on everything I enjoyed. Per se, if I learned piano, she had to learn piano. If I excelled at a subject, she suddenly became a scholar in it. If I told my mom I had a crush, Angela would be dating that boy in a week. I would always tell my parents when she did this, but I was disregarded because sisters copy each other and I can't gatekeep what she likes. She always monitored what activities I did and the clothes I wore so she could outdo me. If I were a flannel, Angela would come to school wearing an all flannel dress. It was 2010 and that was peak fashion in our school. Laughed my butt off. There was also more praise that followed Angela. Even if I took the initiative to begin the activity first, she was praised because she was better. My parents would miss work to attend her dance recitals, going to every single one because the world would stop if they missed it. However, I remember maybe 2 of mine they attended because they were stuck at work or were otherwise preoccupied. Angela revealed this. She would make comments under her breath around our parents. Whenever our parents weren't around, she'd tell me how much she hated me and how I should stop trying because I would always come second to her. She also physically bullied me in school. Angela purposely tripped me, threw things at me, and hit me in the hallways on a nearly daily basis. The school had gotten involved multiple times, threatening Angela with suspension, and my parents fought it every time. My parents repeatedly told the administration that this was a family matter and we were just bickering like normal sisters. She was never once reprimanded by either parent. Once Angela was caught impaling a cat on the school fence, and my parents still defended her, saying this was normal teenage behavior. I often was in trouble as Angela would start crying, saying how she was being targeted by the school when I had antagonized her. After one of these occasions, Angela cut and bruised herself to prove to Dad that I was the aggressor. I became a pariah due to Angela's malicious rumors about me, so it was difficult for me to make friends. I resorted to only befriending people from other districts. Angela eventually made sure I had nobody by stalking them, befriending them, telling all my friends lies about how I was favored by our parents, and I constantly bullied and belittled her. I constantly bullied and belittled her. She even stole boyfriends of mine doing this, convincing them I was horribly mean and an awful person that copied her every move. Once, she catfished me on MySpace for 4 months and baited me into sending her nudes, which she proceeded to send to my parents and everyone in school, including teachers. Later on, she told one of the boys that I liked that those were actually her pictures and I had catfished her. The day of my high school graduation, my mom sat me down and told me Angela revealed the horrid abuse she'd suffered at my hand, and I was no longer welcome in their home. After moving out the next day, my parents made very few attempts to communicate with me, only the occasional holiday and birthday text. All financial aid also abruptly ended as soon as I stepped foot on campus. I met my now husband shortly after this, and we were married within a year. They did not feel inclined to attend my wedding or even congratulate me. I informed my parents when I had my first child 8 years ago as an opening, but they have made no attempts to contact or meet any of my 3 children. Best I know of Angela now, from what I've heard, is that she got married to one of the boyfriends she stole from me in high school, and she's been posting about her infertility issues and how she can't offer my parents their first grandbaby. After years of silence, I received a text at 8 this morning from my mother that I will copy and paste below. Hey, name, it's me, your mama. We haven't talked in a while and I surely miss you terribly. I wanted to let you know your sister just had a miscarriage earlier this week. Angie and Justin are struggling a lot right now. Send something a little sweet her way. I'm sure she'd appreciate it. Get back to me. I love you. I hate to say it, but I'm glad she's suffering. I'm glad she doesn't get to be a mother. If she tormented me for years, what would she do to a child, especially a girl? I don't wish death on any baby, but I know in my heart that child would be damaged by her. I'm angry at my parents expecting me to have any sense of obligation to her. I don't even have any sense of obligation to them. They always believed her and dismissed me. I was always the problem child, and it's strange how my mother can be so warm to me when asking me to do something for my sister. Also the fact they cared more about my sister's now dead fetus than my actual children, who wonder why they only have one set of grandparents. I feel some sort of guilt for it, but I refuse to offer any condolences to my destructive narcissistic sister who has been justified in her behavior since birth. Maybe this will change her, help her develop empathy or any type of emotion that isn't hate or vindictiveness. If that happens, I would be more than willing to offer support, but until then, I feel nothing but a small inkling of happiness that she's hurt. Am I awful for this? You are not awful. You are not awful at all. I know it's not the best to feel somewhat happy to find out that someone has, a fairly traumatic issue or something like that. But after the hell that it sounds like your sister put you through and what you've been through, I can't blame you. And you're not doing something active to harm her. You're just kind of, enjoying a bit of catharsis at karma finally striking back. And maybe it's not the best to feel happy about that, but I don't think you're a bad person for it. I think any person would take a little catharsis in that, so really can't blame you. Also, to hell with your parents. To pin these things on you, to just believe your sister outright, and when you've extended olive branches, like, having children, they have grandchildren, all that, and they just do nothing about it. No, I think you're perfectly in the right to not want to deal with any of them. And, I think maybe some of that stuff could be worth talking to a therapist about. And hopefully you don't have to feel anything about that sister. Hopefully you can just put her behind you and out of your life along with those parents, because you deserve better. Today I effed up by sending a call from the International Space Station to voicemail. This happened 2 days ago, Sunday. A friend of mine is currently on his second mission to the ISS. I saw a call come in on my iPhone and the caller ID said US government. I first had that thought and feeling you get when the principal calls you to their office. Crap, what did I do that I thought I got away with, but maybe I didn't? I was in the middle of something with a bunch of people and showed them what it said on my phone, and everyone was all, "Don't answer it." Between everyone's suggestion and my gut feeling of being in trouble, I sent it to voicemail. Turns out it was my buddy calling from space. I had a chance to speak to someone that wasn't on Earth and screwed it up. First thing he said in the voicemail was, "You probably saw a call from US government and turned it down. I know we'll call again, but damn, I feel like an idiot right now." Too long didn't read, my buddy called me from the International Space Station and the caller ID said US government, so I sent it to voicemail and missed a call from space. Edit. He called back tonight. What a fascinating and amazing call. I asked where he was flying over and he said the western coast of Africa. I asked how the ride was and he said smooth and awesome. He said the second stage acceleration was incredible and that they hit over 4 Gs. Then at SECO they got thrown into their straps from the deceleration and bam! Orbit. Took roughly 8.5 minutes to get into orbit. They have a couple of days off, not because of Memorial Day. The conversation was 12 minutes long, but we had to end it because of a satellite issue that was about to happen. Exact reason is out of my wheelhouse. Ironically, I made him and I laser engraved rocks glasses, and I was drinking out of it when he called. He also joked about some funny stuff that happened when I went out for the launch. He was cracking up about the situation with the first call that I shared here and said that's a common occurrence. Yeah, I'm sorry, US government, you gotta fix that. You can't have the caller ID read US government. I know it's the US government and that the call's like going through your stuff, but you can't have that. You need to fix that caller ID so when someone's calling from space, it says space. Literally, if I looked at my phone and the caller ID said space, I don't even know anyone who's going to space. I'm very confident that there is no one in my life who would ever give me a call that has plans to go to space anytime soon. But if I got a call and the caller ID just said space in all capital letters, I'd go, I gotta answer that. Like, there's no way I would turn that down. I don't think anyone would. Curiosity alone would force me to be like, even if it's a scam or something, I gotta know. It's like, oh, it's Jimmy. He's in space right now. How's it going up there, bud? What a weird thought that someone could be that far away, but you could theoretically look up and be like, I guess technically you're in my line of sight right now? That's wild. Oh, that's too much. That's existential. I don't like it.
Please leave your story in the comments. I would love to make a video on them in the future. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe.